My name is Sierra Lancaster, and I am a singer-songwriter, actor, producer, and activist, and I am doing this in support of the social enterprise RDXL House.
Well, so first off, I just want to say thank you so much for being here. That song. Can you tell me? So, what's the title of the song? And I want to know a little bit about like your process. Like, this is like a question that we didn't talk about actually before, but like listening to the song, I was like, oh wait, I want to know these artists' process. So, like, what's the name of the song? And then, what was your process writing it? Why'd you write it?
Absolutely. So the song is called Berlin, and I think this past year of my life has been full of a lot of endings and beginnings. And as a songwriter, I've been exploring all of those endings and beginnings. But I think that what Berlin is when you're understanding that you're not necessarily ready for a beginning to start. And you know, you might have the choice for that beginning to happen or not. We don't always have that choice. But you know, still caring about the people that are involved in that beginning happening, and just kind of being with yourself. I think a lot of as a songwriter, I work best when I have an emotional catalyst, when there's just something that happens in my life where I'm like, I need to sit down and I need to write about this, I need to express how I'm feeling. And this song was a little bit different because it used different elements of, I guess, my life and things that I was feeling and exploring, but a lot of it was kind of just a deep dive into what is a beginning and what happens when you're just not really ready for that to happen. So a little bit more imaginatory, which was a really great writing exercise.
Yes, I love that. I love hearing that. And but I am interested to know, because you just asked, well, you didn't ask, but you stated that through your process of writing this song, you were looking for like what is a beginning also.
Yeah.
And I'm interested to know, did you find the answer, or what is a beginning now to you? What do you think it is to you?
I think the answer that I came up with is that life is just going to be full of beginnings, whatever they are. If that's the start of something new, if that is something coming to a close, and so you have to now move on past that closing or that ending. I think I realized that that's going to happen, and it doesn't have to be devastating every single time. I think it's part of just the human experience. There's a really incredible artist that I love called Jensen McCrae, and I especially look up to her and love her as an artist so much because she is in the singer-songwriter kind of indie genre, and she is a Black woman, and that is just so rare in the genre to have any women of color. But she's a poet as well as a songwriter, and she's this incredible essay about something called seeding the wheel, and she talks about we have the choice as adults to either seed the wheel or to force things, but living in the camp of either or, I'm going to always force things or I'm always going to seed the wheel, is it's relinquishing your autonomy and sense of choice as an adult. That is something that you are supposed to get when you're an adult. So I have just been thinking so much about that as well, and I think that Berlin is in that middle section. It's understanding that I'm not going to force myself to want to be in a relationship with this person, or force myself to be ready to be in relationship to this person in that way. And I'm also gonna maybe not totally take a complete step back. I'm gonna think about this, and it's really the process of understanding more myself through that.
So, yes. Oh my gosh, I loved hearing that. And you said the author of Seeding the Wheel, what was their name again?
Jensen McCrae.
Jensen McCrae. So first off, I definitely have to read that after this.
It's on her Substack.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I definitely have to look into that. And it made me think a lot about one of my other questions as well, just about what you said about the fact that she's an indie artist as well, and you don't get to see a lot of like Black women be platformed in that genre.
No.
And it made me think about, okay, so do you think that there's an importance of there being media productions, media spaces where marginalized artists, they don't just get to accumulate or like share resources with each other and like make new resources, but they also get to create like productions and stories of their own, like with their own control. Like even, I don't know, do you know who Michaela Cole is?
Yeah, of course.
Yes.
Oh my gosh,
yes, amazing. I've seen I May Destroy You so many times, and rewatching it again, it was really interesting because I knew the whole story of how she turned down $1 million to give over the rights of this story to Netflix, and she just really didn't want to do that.
Yeah.
And her telling it in her own story, she co-directed every single episode with another person, and she wrote every single episode with 3 other consultants.
Amazing.
Like, she's amazing. So even us recognizing the importance of that and the importance of that story and like how it came up to be so authentic because she got to control that story and how that kind of came into fruition in the world. What is the importance that you find with having these media spaces where marginalized people, queer people, BIPOC people, women, marginalized people, especially though, that we do not see at all? Because like Black people, brown people, queer people, we only see like certain facets of them. Yeah.
Yes. I mean, that is the most important thing. I as a South Asian artist, I talk a lot in my work about leaving a legacy. I think that stories are what leave legacies and build legacies that we then pass down to future generations. And my ancestors are not the original indigenous peoples of this land. We are not the ones who are the caretakers of this land. We came to this land. We immigrated here, and that is the story for so many people in this country, that they came here, for a new life, or they were brought here forcefully. And I think that because, even especially for Indigenous folks as well, I think that our stories are erased by the fact that we are not considered the majority here when we are in fact the global majority. So it's like I don't know what y'all are thinking, but we are the global majority, and our stories have existed for thousands and thousands of years. But I think like America and the UK, very specific markets where we tend to see white stories as the dominant narrative. We don't get to see the concealed, quote unquote, concealed narratives that oftentimes belong to people of color and other marginalized folks. So I think that having spaces like this are so, so important, because it allows us to build our legacies and leave our mark as a people, as a community, as a diaspora. I say that what I'm trying to do as an artist is I'm trying to dismantle the South Asian American legacy of silence. There's the model minority myth that exists throughout the Asian community. And there's this idea, that we're supposed to be quiet and submissive. And if we do that, then we'll get to be in positions of power. There is of course an element of privilege within the Asian community of, we are seen as folks who can be in positions of power. But I read this really incredible article that I actually cannot remember the title of, but it's the idea that the model minority myth perpetuates the idea that folks within that myth are not supposed to be at the center. They can be on the outskirts, they can be at the table if they can be in the room, but they're not supposed to be at the center. And I think what that creates is a legacy of silence. And so, and I know that Asian Americans, South Asian Americans are not the only ones. That is a myth that is perpetuated and put on so many communities unfairly. That's why I just think that these spaces have to exist. We have to be the ones creating our own art together. We have to have those resources, because without those resources and without community, it's so difficult. We truly are unable to even get a foot in the door if we're not acting as a stronghold and supporting one another. So I'm very excited about this company existing, this social enterprise existing. And I'm just so thrilled that there is going to be a space available for folks of all marginalized identities, but also folks of all access points.
Right.
Whether you're an artist that is just stepping into your artistry, or whether you're an artist who's been doing this for decades, this is a space for you. And I think that is so important, and that's not always available. So I'm just really excited about all of it. Yeah.
Yes. First off, I love talking to other. I'm just gonna say it how it is. I love talking to other marginalized people, because so much is so. How do I want to phrase this? The media so often wants to discredit marginalized people's intelligence.
Yes.
And it's like, you just taught me so many things, even in like the readings that you've read or an article. And there's so much to take away. There's so much insight that you have, that Karina, y'all don't see Karina, but Karina has, that David has. And it's even what you just said, girl. It was crazy. Just because I like to be upfront about like the way in which I've been Americanized. We all have. Like, we're American citizens. We all have. And there is a duty I feel like we have as American citizens, because even when you look at, for example, media, the 6 biggest media companies, literally 4 to 5 of them all have been originated and operate in the United States of America. America runs like the film industry, America runs the TV 100%. Industry, social media apps. Like, we have our hands in so many different things. This isn't even a conversation that we have enough time to get into our military involvement in every single country, everywhere. Just being nosy. Just doing too much.
Just doing all the time.
All the time. But even to what you just said about specifically Asian people, right?
Yeah.
Like 60% of the entire population is in Asia, resides in Asia.
Yeah.
And that's a
big continent.
That's a big continent with so many different ethnicities, countries, etc.
Yes.
And that's why it's so interesting, because coming from the United States of America, the way in which we've been taught, I genuinely had the perception that like, oh yeah, most of the world is like white. That doesn't make any sense. But every single place in which I looked, besides like, okay, I want to say around 2008 with like Trayvon Martin and the Black Lives Matter movement and like the Me Too movement, which was about like 2016, 2014, 2013. Yeah, about
mid
then.
2010s.
We started to see a difference of an actual want from these media corporations, because they were like, oh shit, like we're getting canceled and like things are happening, so we should want to change. But before that, I literally only saw white people. So I remember when I came across that fact like a few years ago, I was like, oh wow. I think it was because I read the article of the person that coined global majority, which he used. And even like, okay, and how they had curated and made that phrase out in London, because she was like a Caribbean European woman. Like her ethnicity is Caribbean. And I don't remember if she was born in the Caribbean or if she was born in like London or the UK. But they were using it to essentially like just really show that like you should be listening to other people of other ethnicities and academics. And that's not even taking in like all the people of Asian descent that literally live all across the world, all the people that live in Africa, all the people of African descent that live all around the world. Like, Europe is a pretty small space, and yet they dominate the media.
Yes.
And that's not to say that like racialized white people should never be seen on screen. That's crazy. That's crazy. I just feel as though if it's not even proportional to the actual demographics we have on the globe, what does that say about our ideas of these groups of people?
And America, I would argue, maybe this is an unpopular opinion, but America doesn't exactly have a cultural identity in the way that most other countries do. I think there are pieces of culture that we associate with, like, I thinking from my family's perspective, like the cheeseburger is something that is very American. You think of like your hamburger, fries, Coke, like that's what you think. There are pieces of American culture that we hold on to, but I think more in America, what's interesting, and I'm not, I'm a citizen of this country, and I've never lived in another country, but I think what's really interesting is I have grown up associating culture and nationality with ideals and with values. I'm biracial, so my dad was born and raised here in the United States, but my mother was not. My mother immigrated here from India with her parents. And it's very interesting. I think we have certain ideals and values in America. I think there are some that are a little bit more front, open-facing, the idea of democracy, the ideal of freedom of speech, stuff like that. And both cultures have different ideas and values, and I just think it's so interesting that even though like we are all just a one like human race. And I think we operate mostly in terms of like similarities and differences in terms of just like how we relate to one another and how we share ideas and values. And more often than not, they're pretty similar. They're pretty, like, being a good human is pretty similar across the board.
Exactly.
Like I don't see much difference.
Exactly.
But I think we have things in America that we can learn. I think ideals of family and what it means to like have a legacy. I mean, when you're a first gen in this country, the word legacy means something so different than I think maybe for folks who are not. And coming from the Indian culture and thinking about, I have my own production company and I named it Samuel Lancaster Productions.
I was about to say, give us a name.
Samuel Lancaster Productions. Because Samuel is my Indian family. It's their like family name. And Lancaster is my last name, my dad's last name. And I knew as a girl, I knew as a girl that likely the Samuel name is not going to pass down through me or my sister. And so the idea, though, that I'm transferring the idea of in India, girls don't have a voice a lot of the time. They don't have a lot of power. But my family came here to this country so that I could have that. And so then I'm going to combine the value of family, the value of legacy, and bring that, to American ideals of commerce and business. And I'm gonna build a legacy through that. So that was a little bit of a runaround, but I think that just America's not the only place, and we can find a lot of just shared empathy through our shared ideals and values.
Right, and even if it was a little runaround, we were following along with you, okay? Like, it was beautiful. Thank you. Listen, I'm like, exactly what you said is exactly what I feel like the insight that you miss when you just assume, oh, well, that person's not of enough value to be listened to.
Yeah.
Because exactly what you just said is things that so many people, even when you think about community in America, are missing. And it's actually a great segue into two more of my questions, which is just, what does community mean to you? And do you think media made with purposes outside of profit is something that us as various communities of the same species should support? Because you brought up a little point about, the fact that like, we have a lot of the same values as humans. We're human.
Yeah.
But we are different in a lot of ways. So us as different communities, do you think that there is a space for us to not just want to, but to also need to put our eyes and our focus on media made by us for us?
Yes, 100%. To answer your first question, community is so many things, but I think what I've understood, I moved to New York a year and a half ago, and community means something different here than it means to me back home with my parents or with my biological family. I think that community here is support. It is so hard to be alive. It just is. There's so much going on in the world, and I think we're all very blessed to be able to be here and to be quite frank, not experiencing a genocide right now. So we have to acknowledge those and our blessings in that way. But I think just having support and being able to show up in a space, knowing that you can arrive dressed in your full humanity, and you will be loved and cherished, and your work and your identities will be championed. That's community to me here. So I feel very lucky to have found such a beautiful community, and I know that this enterprise is also the building of community in that way. And to answer your second question, I think by us for us that's it. That like that I don't think right now, at least, I don't want to say that this will never be a possibility, but I don't think right now we are in a place where the people that are, to be quite frank, the white folks that are in the writer's room for a lot of mainstream media, I don't really think they are able and equipped right now to write our stories are, and I honestly don't think they should.
Yeah.
I don't think maybe they ever should. I think that is something that is a gift that we get to share. We get to build our own legacies, because if we're not telling our own stories, then other people are building our own legacies.
Right.
And they're also writing our histories.
Right.
I mean, if you think of storytelling and art like a history book, like a cultural history book, we have to be the ones writing it. Because most of the history books and textbooks are written by and for white people to keep alive whatever pieces of history that the folks writing it want to keep alive.
Right.
But I think that we deserve to keep our own histories alive in the way that we want to keep them alive. So for us and by us is so important, and I'm just thrilled that this is happening.
Yes, thank you.
Uh-huh.
Thank you.
Of course.
And before we get into my last two questions, I am interested just to know, you have your own production company as well, which is an amazing feat. If you want to share, how old are you?
How old am I as a person? I'm 24.
As
a person, I'm 24.
Yeah.
More age than that. But 24, I have a company called Sierra Lancaster Productions, and I will say in the last maybe year or so, we're just kind of undergoing some shifts and changes, and as I've been undergoing shifts and changes. But I'd say at the height of the pandemic and when I was in college, so for a little while, we were mostly a producing house for theater, and our work centers the stories, lives, narratives, legacies of folks of little majority and other marginalized identities. Specifically, also, or especially rather, I should say, folks that are living at the intersections of many of those identities. So I just wanted to create a space for that. I think that college is kind of a bubble, and the pandemic was happening, and Black Lives Matter. That movement really launched to a very visible front, thank God.
Right.
And I think that maybe sometimes folks have to see other people showing them the way. And that's another facet of community, is gently shepherding folks and showing them the way to go when they don't feel equipped to figure out that path. So that's what I think SLP was and is and will always be. And now I think we want to be kind of starting to do some heavy hitting a little bit, and seeing the other ways that we can radicalize and transform artistry to support our people.
Right.
So yeah.
Right. Y'all, it's Sunday. I feel like I just heard a word. Okay. I literally feel like I need to say amen. Amen. Because you're 100% right. And I feel like everything that you said is exactly what, not even just us as industry workers in theater and entertainment and film, no, but also like the little us's. We're like, can I do this? And then we went through all the traumas and various people being like, no, you can't. And we still are sitting here today doing it and doing it successful to our own definition. So just those last two questions I want to ask you is, for one, how does this piece speak to your feelings on community? And then I wanted to close this off to ask, why should someone watching this help donate or join the community of the social enterprise RDXL House?
Ask it one more time.
I got you. We'll take it one by one.
My brain just left the room for a second.
It's okay. But
okay, this is where I can then just say, face this camera.
Okay.
After this work.
My brain left for a second.
So the first question is, how does this piece speak, the piece that you just performed, speak to your feelings on community? And then the last question is, why should someone watching this help donate or join the community of the social enterprise RDXL House?
100%. I am very proud to be a musician. That is not an identity that I held for a long time. I went to school for musical theater, and I think that being a musician and being an actor have been two very separate identities in the industry for a long time, and we know that multi-hyphenism is fairly new, which means it's not new at all, because folks are starting to understand that, or that just that idea, folks are open to that now, which is strange why it hasn't been that way when people have been doing multi-hyphenate work for literally so long. So I think for me, to answer your question about community, becoming a musician was me allowing my truth to enter my spirit. It is just not something that I allowed for a long time. It's not a skill that I thought I could ever practice. And so even, being able to sit in this space today with you and hold my guitar and sing a song, that is just so deeply meaningful to me. And I think that, is what community is. Community, like I said, it's support, and it's showing up for people and witnessing their art with joy and with grace and with just a fervor to support and uplift. So I think that is part of it. And also, because my community is showing up for me here today in this room, I can exist in this genre. I can exist as a musician in America, a South Asian musician, which is, we are so underrepresented in the music industry. I can do that, and I can feel welcomed to that. So that is a huge part of it. And the second question was?
Why do you think that people watching should donate or join the community?
Oh, yes.
The social enterprise.
Look right at the camera. You should be donating, uplifting, sharing to RDXL social enterprise. Just because, first of all, they're amazing. They're doing amazing work. But I think this ties back to my idea of legacy. What are the legacies that you want to help sow? What are the seeds that you want to sow? And understanding that legacies cannot be built without access, without resources, without time, without money, without community, without support. How can you step into that? You talk about Sunday. I come from a long line of United Methodist pastors.
Okay.
And, one of the things that is said in the United Methodist Church is, how can you share your times, talents, gifts, and your service? And I think that's just a really beautiful way to live. And I think you have no reason not to. There's no reason not to want to support the sharing of these stories. So whatever way you can show up, whether that's just, liking, subscribing, sharing this post, anything like that, or if it's giving a monetary donation, or if it's mentorship, or if it's community, providing your house, your home, whatever. How can I invite you to think how you can show up and how you can support, because I think the importance of the mission is obvious. I don't think I have to reiterate that at all. So I invite you to consider how you can show up and support, because you should. And these are the legacies that your children and your grandchildren will be receiving. So how are you going to play a part in that?
Wow. Sierra has spoken, okay, on this Sunday. Time, talents, gift, and service. Yes. I hope that everybody at home remembers that.
Yeah.
If they take away anything, they remember that.
Because we all have something.
Yeah.
We all have been given something.
Given something,
so how
experience something of insight. Yeah.
Yes. So how can we share it? How can we use it?
Exactly. Thank you. Thank you for being here with us. And hopefully we'll be seeing you soon. Okay.